Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's video, I'm going to do some short-term analysis as we are on the brink of a breakout. I will also show you a chart to reassure everyone that we're not coming to the end of the bull market anytime soon, just because the pi cycle is coming to a cross. And I'll also show you the Bitcoin dominance chart that's basically screaming at you to fasten your seatbelts because the altcoins are about to take off. And I'll also show you a quick update on all the tips that I've given you in the last couple of months to see exactly where they are from where I tipped them. And finally, in today's Wisdom Bite, I'm going to show you a clip of a speech that will totally transform your life. And if that sounds interesting, then without further ado, get your Snickers bars, get your popcorn, get your cups of teas, and let's get cracking. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the daily chart for Bitcoin and show you exactly where we are in relation to the current price here. So up to the run up to this price here, what we've got is three corrections here, here, and here. And the interesting thing I find with these corrections is that we had this big run up, as you can see, and then we were met with this first deep correction of 31%. Then we had another run up and we were met with another correction, this time of 26%. Then we had another smaller run up and we had another correction here of 18%. Now, are you following the actual progression of this? You may have noticed that it's getting progressively less and less, whereas the run-ups are getting progressively less and less. And this one, we're here now at this point. So from the 8th of October around here, we had this massive run-up. Although we had a correction here, the momentum was so much that it kept going. And this was really our first port of call for the correction. Then we had another run-up, which, as you can see, was not as big as this one here. Then we had a small correction of 26%. Then we had another run-up here, again, not as large as the previous run-ups. And we had another correction. And now we've had a smaller run-up. Now, usually in technical analysis, what that's saying is that the market is getting geared up for a massive move to the upside. That is normally the case how this works. When you have progressively less corrections, that means that there's a lot of fuel of demand in the market. And that may be that this is how it's going to plan out here, that we're going to have a massive move here to whatever extent, we don't know yet, but this is what we need to be aware of, that this is the development in the last few months. The question is, what is in the way of this big massive move? Because there's quite a lot of hurdles in the way of this big move that's about to come. Firstly, we have this red channel that we've been forming since this correction, the first correction here in January. And this is basically forming these double bottom patterns here. And what we've got is we've got this neckline here. And we all know what happens when the neckline of a trend is broken, that once we break this, we're going to be off to the races. Now, the question is, how far can we go? Well, this trend line tells you that whenever we break out, there's a resistance going to be here. And the top of this trend line is around the $80,000 mark, depending on where it hits it. However, before this trend line, there's a number of factors to take into account. There's this trend line here, which takes the top of that to the top of this. And that trend line is currently at around about the $64,000 mark. So will we get rejected here? So this is the first resistance after we break this neckline here at $64,000. We've also got this channel here. The bottom of this channel is at $64,000 and the top of that is at $66,000. And this is based on what I showed you in the last video, that we will find some real resistance between 64 and 66,000. And we got the $64,000 from the Fibonacci retracement level. If we take the Fibonacci retracement from the 20,000 previous all-time high to the 3,100 that we got here at the end of the bear market, you can see quite clearly the 61.8 figure here is at $64,000, and we're coming up to that right there. And also I showed you in the last video that when we got to the 61.8 level here in 2019, when we topped off right there, Bitcoin has an affinity to be rejected at the 61.8. So this is exactly where we're coming up to now. Please remember at 47,000, when we got to the 2 times the 61.8 here, we also got rejected here. So we're coming to the next level here now. So that's a very strong level that we could actually get resistance. So that's the 64,000 level resistance I drew here, which is the bottom of this channel. The $65,000 level that I took from here is to do with the pivots. And as you can see, the pivots of R1 is right in the middle of that at 65,000. So that will prove also a resistant point. But more importantly than that, the 66,000 level, the top of this band here, was taken from the log growth curves, and that was this point here. And as I showed in the last video, the reason why this is significant is that throughout Bitcoin's history, this 76.39 level, this yellow line here, has proven to be of very high relevance and importance. Whenever we go past this line, we're only a few weeks away from the top. We got a very strong rejection at that point by 75%. So this line here is currently at $66,000. There is a very high probability that we're going to get rejected at this point, at least have a minor correction at that point of anywhere around 20 to 25%. Always remember, no one ever knows the depth of the corrections. We can tell when a correction is on its way, but no one can ever tell you how deep that correction is going to be. It could be 10%, it could be 50%, it could be 70%. You can look at this pattern in many, many ways. You can take this line here and extend it to over there, and then what you would have is an ascending triangle, which is extremely bullish. So you know that this is going to break to the upside here. Or you can look at this as a wedge. So we may be due for another correction back to this line here before we move towards this territory here. So it may well be that we don't get a breakout here, but we create another bottom here as part of this double bottom before we come back to this line here and then break out towards these resistance lines here. If we take a look at the 4-hourly chart, then you can see that there's something else that's brewing as well here. And that is a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. If that's the case, then we do have another leg to come back down to here before we make another attempt at this neckline here. So lots of different ways to look at this short-term analysis. It could well be that there is an imminent breakout about to happen, which is entirely possible. But if you look at the full picture here, then we're in this wedge, as well as forming an inverse head and shoulders pattern potentially. So it may well be, I know a lot of people here, and I've heard many people on the other YouTube channels saying get ready to play this trade here, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But please be aware that before the actual breakout, don't get into a trade before it breaks out and has at least a day or a 4-hour open and close above this level here, because it may well be that we have a further leg down to this level here around the $55,000 mark, and then it's time to go back up to the neckline and then onwards. So apart from the Fibonacci retracement of the $64,000 level, the pivot line at R1 of $65,000 level, and the log growth curve at $66,000 level, so those three are going to prove very, very resistant here. However, should we be able to barge through these resistance points here, we've also got our Bitcoin investor tool line. This is the red line here. So should we be able to get through this resistance here, then we will have a very, very strong resistance at these levels. At the moment, the Bitcoin investor tool line here is at $72,000. So while we're expecting a big breakout at this neckline here, how far it will go will depend on whether it can negotiate this heavy resistance at these points at 64, 65 and 66. Should we get past that, then the next lines are going to be at these. So anywhere around the $75,000 mark, I think is going to be too much for Bitcoin to get past. But if it does, then we will only be a few weeks away from the top of the market, which I don't think we are at. So just be aware of these resistance points. So while the stochastic RSI is showing a bullish cross over here, and that we're at the bottom of the channel, telling us that a move to the upside is imminent. If we looked at the monthly chart, it's telling us we're at the top of the channel. And what happens when we get to the top of the channel? We see a correction. When we get to the top of the channel here, yes, we can stay there many weeks and months here, actually. But when we top out, we tend to have a correction. So depending on how long we stay up here, we will be due a correction somewhere in the next few months anyway. But I want to show you something very interesting on this monthly chart, which no one I've seen has actually shown on any of the YouTube videos. And that is the monthly 8 exponential moving average. So this is the 8 monthly exponential moving average. You'll notice one thing here is that, as you can see with the price on this line, every single month, as you can see there, every single month the price comes back. Even there, it comes back and finds support. There are the odd months that it doesn't, like here, it didn't quite touch that. And over here, and over here. So this is accurate to at least around the 90% mark. If you move here, you'll see that virtually every single month, the price comes back to find support on this 8 monthly exponential moving average. So currently, the reason why I want to show you this is that currently we've just opened higher than the exponential moving average. Therefore, there is a very high probability that we're going to come back and find support. Currently, that's at 53,000, but every week this moves forward, which then feeds into the monthly chart. So this will obviously keep moving forward as well. So we may meet it a little bit higher, but it's something to keep your eye on, that there is a very high degree of probability that this monthly candle that we've just started will hit the 8 monthly exponential moving average. So coming back to this current chart here, yes, the imminent move is around the corner, either here or here, but there's a lot more going on up here to keep an eye on. I hope you found that of value, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Quite a number of people have been talking about the pi cycle and how that is now signaling that we're come to the end of the bull market. Well, as I've shown you with many of the confluencing factors, there's a lot of other factors to consider before we decide that that's going to be the case. And it may well be that we have 2 peaks rather than 1 peak. There is one other chart I wanted to show you, which shows quite clearly that we're not coming to the end of the full bull market yet. So this chart basically tells us the following information. If we look below it, it tells us exactly what it's showing. And it's saying how to use this indicator. The indicator is able to identify with great accuracy the price high. This is the keyword, price high, of each of Bitcoin's previous macro cycles. That's the top of the bull markets. It identifies the market top to within a few days of accuracy. This ratio entering into the red band signals that the market is approaching the top of its cycle. And this has historically been a good time for investors to take profits in each cycle. So let's have a look at that. The blue lines here is the price of Bitcoin, and the red is this ratio here. So this is the red zone here, where it shows clearly when the top of the bull market comes to. So in 2013-14, when we had two peaks, we had one peak here, the price, the blue peak here, but look, notice the red line, it didn't go into the red. So that was the clue that this peak was not going to be the end of this bull market here. Instead, the red lines continued until it hit the top of the red zone. That was the real signal for the top of that bull market at the end of 2013. Then here in 2017, at the end of 2017, again, the blue line is the price, but look at the red line. It goes straight into the red zone, signaling that we've come to the end of the bull market. Currently, we're here with the price, but look where the red lines are. The red lines are where this first peak was, around here. So it may well be that we peak around here, but the red line is signaling to us that we're not coming to the end of the bull market, and that there may be a further peak to come. Or it may well be that we have a big correction for many, many months, so that this red line goes sideways and then goes into the red zone later on. Only time will tell, but I thought this was a very interesting chart for everyone to have a look at. Quickly moving on to the Bitcoin dominance chart, what we see here is a fascinating development here. This is what all the altcoin holders have been waiting for. The breaking of this long-term trend line here. This trend line here stretches all the way back to January 2018, when the altcoins had this massive fall. So please be braced for a similar fall at the end of this bull market here. However, in the meanwhile, we have this break to the downside of Bitcoin dominance. This could truly be one of the most fascinating altcoin seasons that we've ever seen, because obviously this has now broken the neckline here, and we could be in for a very exciting ride here. So if you're holding any altcoins, this could be your opportunity here to make your biggest gains. Also, if I show you this chart, this is the total market cap that excludes Bitcoin. So these are all the altcoins except Bitcoin and its total market cap. And it shows that we've now broken the neckline of this chart here. And what happens whenever we break the neckline, we're off to the races. This is where we are. So we've had a weekly close above the neckline here. We've come back and retested it as a support. And now look where we're going. So this is really the start of a massive altcoin season about to take off. This is not financial advice. Please do your wider research. This is just what I'm seeing in the charts, and I'm telling you exactly what I see. The last time it did this here was down here. When we came up to this neckline, look what happened. Once we broke it, this is what happened. And this is what I'm expecting similarly over here. Let's wait and see, but certainly exciting times ahead for altcoins. A quick look at some of the tips that I gave you in the last couple of months. First of all, starting with NEO, and I gave you this tip around this level here at $23, $24 level. We've now gone up to $53 level. So we've already more than doubled this asset, and there's a lot more to come. As you can see, it's creating this red channel up here, and it's got a long way to go. This is Zcash, and we gave this tip at around the $120 mark here, and look where we are now at $169 mark there. Again, a long way to go up here. This is Polkadot, which we gave the tip around here, and I said that the next move is going to be basically towards this trend line here. And now we've broken out of this neckline here with this candle. We're now off to the races to meet this line somewhere up here. So we've got a long way to go for Polkadot as well. This is an absolutely amazing asset. Moving on to Cardano. As you can see, historically, whenever there's a consolidation period, it's followed by a big move to the upside. There. Currently, we're making this pattern here. Once we break out of this here, and this neckline that I've drawn in the past at 1.3, we're going to go to the races here. So again, very high potential for Cardano. Quite a lot of people have asked me to do an analysis on XRP. Now, this was one I used to hold. I had a lot of XRP, and I got out at around about the $40 mark when we breached this price here, when there was this big fall due to the court case. I didn't want to take any risk with XRP, and I did say at the time that I still think it's going to do really well. However, I could find other assets that are going to do at least as good as XRP, but without a court case in their background. So for that reason, I decided to transfer over. But my belief and confidence in XRP has never gone, because when you zoom out, you can see why this level was the critical level. This trend line goes back to beginning of 2020, and as you can see, there was support here from this line. So when you draw these two lines, my view was that if you break this trend line here, this was around about the 22-23 cents line at that point, and look what happened after that. It kept coming to retest it as support a number of times before creating this double bottom pattern here. There and there. As soon as I saw that, I thought that we could go to much higher levels. So what's happening currently? That's what we want to know. This is the current price action going on here. And you can see quite clearly there's a number of patterns that are developing here. Firstly, you might not be able to see it immediately, and that is there is an inverse head and shoulders pattern developing here on this neckline around the 60 cents mark. And what do we know about these inverse head and shoulders pattern is that once they break out here with a daily open and close, then we'll be off to the races here. So main thing here is keep a lookout for this. If you haven't invested already and you're interested, then it may well be that we get rejected at this point before we come back again. In order to confirm the breakout, we need to have a daily candle close above the neckline here, and then we'll be off to the races there. You can also see this pattern as a cup and handle. And then we've come back up here and are about to break out. If you're looking at a potential target price for XRP, then I would look at the monthly chart here. And look at what happened when we broke the neckline here. So if you take the neckline to be around this level here, so you can see a very similar pattern was forming there, an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And when we broke out, we went to as high as these levels here. So from this point, we increased by 1,175%. That's just over 11 times. If a similar move happened here, which is entirely possible, and maybe even more, so 11 times this would take it to around about the $7 mark over here. It may well be it would go much higher, and I suspect that it will go much higher than that. but only time will tell. But this would be the first target that I would be looking at. And if XRP is coming to these levels here and Bitcoin is about to top out, then this would be a great place to actually take the profits. But if you can see that Bitcoin has still got a long way to go, let's say Bitcoin gets to 100, 150,000 and XRP gets to this level here around the $7, $8 mark, we're expecting Bitcoin to go to $300,000. So this point here would not be the point to be taking profits with XRP. You would be better riding the profits much further. And many people have predicted this to go to $50, and it may well be the case. So only time will tell, but certainly this would be my first target around the $7, $8 mark. Just want to give a shout out to Dale May here when he commented that he's up 60% on Marathon after my tip of a few weeks ago. Firstly, congratulations to Dale, and I hope other people took that tip as well, because I started getting into Marathon when it was about $6 or $7, so I'm already 8x on this. If you wanted to buy Marathon, then the best way to do that is not on the Coinbase, because it's not available there, or on Binance, or on any of the other cryptocurrency exchanges, but it is available on the Etoro exchange. If you wanted to buy Marathon or Riot blockchain, which is another Bitcoin miner, you can do that by going into the description box underneath any of my videos, and you can sign up using this link here. And finally, in today's Wisdom Bite, I'm going to show you some excerpts from a video that was uploaded by Mulligan Brothers, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you can have the access to that. It's basically on how successful people think. Certainly, it's one of the greatest inspiring speeches that I've heard. I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I do, and I hope you'll be able to get as much value from it as I did.
I'm here to talk about success. I went to college. I went and worked out 5 hours a day, and I was working on construction, because in those days in bodybuilding there was no money. I didn't have the money for food supplements or anything. So I had to go to work. So I worked in construction. I went to college. I worked out in the gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week. So I did all of that. There was not one single minute that I wasted. And this is why I'm standing here today. At the age of 20, I went to London and I won the Mr. Universe contest as the youngest Mr. Universe ever. And it was because I had a goal. You see, if you don't have a vision of where you go, and if you don't have a goal where you go, you drift around and you never end up anywhere. 74% hate their job in America. The majority of people don't like what they're doing, because they're really not doing it because they didn't have a goal and they followed this goal. They just aimlessly drift around, and then all of a sudden there's a job opening, so they get that job because you have to work. But then when you work, it's a chore. It's work. It's not fun. So if you think about, only a quarter of the people really enjoy what they're doing in life. So people always ask me, when they saw me in the gym in the pumping iron days, they said, why is it that you're working out so hard? 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, and you have always a smile on your face. The others are working out just as hard as you do, and they look sour in the face. Why is that? And I told people all the time, I said, because to me, I'm shooting for a goal. In front of me is the Mr. Universe title. So every rep that I do gets me closer to accomplishing that goal, to make this goal, this vision, turn into reality. Every single set that I do, every repetition, every weight that I lift will get me a step closer to turn this goal into reality. So I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound squat. I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound bench press. I couldn't wait to do another 2,000 reps of sit-ups. I couldn't wait for the next exercise. So let me tell you something, visualizing your goal and going after it makes it fun. You got to have a purpose no matter what you do in life. You got to have a purpose. Muhammad Ali worked his butt off, and I saw it firsthand. And I remember that there was a sports writer that was there in the gym and he was working out and he was doing sit-ups. And they asked him, how many sit-ups do you do? And he said, I don't start counting until it hurts. Now think about that. He doesn't start counting his sit-ups until he feels pain. That's when he starts counting. That is working hard. And so you can't get around the hard work. It doesn't matter who it is. Work your ass off. There is no magic pill. There is no magic out there. You cannot get around. You have to work and work and work. Make sure of this and make sure of that and all this stuff. So it's work. And it drives me crazy when people say that they don't have enough time to go to the gym for 45 minutes a day and work out. Or to do something for 45 minutes to an hour a day to improve. If it is physically improve or if it is mentally to improve. Imagine you read 1 hour a day about history. How much you will learn after 365 hours in 1 year. Think about if you study about the history of musicians, of composers, how much you would know. Imagine if you would work on the business, on some business that you want to develop every day for an hour. Imagine how further along you will go and get. So it drives me nuts because when people say we don't have the time, we have 24 hours a day. We sleep 6 hours a day, so that gives you still 18 hours. So there's someone shaking their head out here in front to say probably, I don't sleep 6 hours, I sleep 8 hours, right? Or just sleep faster. So we have 18 hours a day. The average person works around 8 to 10 hours. So let's assume it's 10 hours, so we have 8 hours left. Then you travel around an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. So now you have still 6 hours left. So what do you do with the 6 hours? What do you do with the 6 hours? Then we eat a little bit, then we schmooze a little bit, talk a little bit to people and all that stuff. But you can see how much time there is available if you organize your day. So you got to work hard. I hate plan B. And I tell you why. Because we have so many doubters, as I've said earlier, the no-sayers. We have so many of those people that say no and you can't do it, that's impossible. That is okay because we just turn off, as I said earlier, and we listen and we hear the no being a yes. You can't do it, you can't do it, and all of that. So that is possible to do that amongst all the negative people around you. But when you start doubting yourself, that's very dangerous. Because now what you're basically saying is that if my plan doesn't work, I have a fallback plan, I have a plan B. And that means that you start thinking about plan B, and every thought that you put into plan B, you're taking away now that thought and that energy from plan A. And it's very important to understand that we function better if there is no safety net, because plan B becomes a safety net. It says that if I fail, then I fall and I get picked up and I have something else there that will protect me. And that's not good, because people perform better when there's no safety net. People perform better in sports and everything else if you don't have a plan B. I'm telling you, I've never ever had a plan B. I said, I made a full commitment that I'm going to go and be a bodybuilding champion. I made a full commitment that I'm going to be in America. I made a full commitment that I'm going to get in the show business and I'm going to be a leading man. No matter what it takes, I will do the work. I will do the work over and over and over until I get it. And the same was in politics and everything like that. So to me, it is very dangerous to have a plan B because you're cutting yourself off from the chance of really succeeding. And the reason, one of the main reasons why people want to have a plan B is because they are worried about failing. What is if I fail, then I don't have anything else? Well, let me tell you something, don't be afraid of failing because there's nothing wrong with failing. You have to fail in order to climb that ladder. There's no one that doesn't fail. Michael Jordan said in one of his interviews, when they said, you're unbelievable, you're the greatest basketball player of all times. I mean, tell me about that. And he says, well, you're just mentioning the successes. But he says, for me to become the greatest basketball player, I missed 9,000 shots when I was playing basketball at the NBA games. So during these games that he was so successful, he missed 9,000 shots. Does it make him a failure? No. He's one of the greatest basketball players of all times, but he failed 9,000 times. Do you get it? We all fail. It's okay. What is not okay is that when you fail, you stay down. Whoever stays down is a loser. And winners will fail and get up. Fail and get up. Fail and get up. You always get up. That is a winner. That is a winner. I failed in bodybuilding. I lost bodybuilding competitions. I lost powerlifting competitions. I lost weightlifting competitions. I had movies that went in the toilet and that were terrible and got the worst reviews. And in politics, I remember I had many of the initiatives on the ballot and we lost. My approval rating in California went down to 28%. And then it went back up again and they won again the governorship. Hey, we all lose. We all have losses. This is okay. And this is why I say don't be worried about losing, because when you're afraid of losing, then you get frozen. You get stiff. You're not relaxed. You got to be, in order to perform well in anything, if it's in boxing or if it is on your job or with your thinking, is only happening when you relax. So relax. It's okay to fail. Let's just go all out and give it everything that you got. That's what it is all about. So don't be afraid to fail.
Wow. How do you follow that? Well, I hope you found that as inspirational as I did. The more I listen to that, the more inspired I become. So I hope you found value in that. And if you did, please remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. We'll wrap it up there. If you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.